Hey, beautiful people. Welcome to yet another episode of the Mom CEO podcast. I'm here with my beautiful co host, Lori Keaton. I got it right
Hey.
this
Hey, everybody. So nice to have you here with us today. We are so excited to be with you and to talk with our guest this morning.
Her name is Tanesha T.J. Bryant, and she is a motivational speaker that works with entrepreneurs who need assistance setting up systems and programs. Lori, you're going to like this one.
Yes.
Yes, and her goal is to activate the difference in others towards wholeness and self-awareness. Oh my gosh. I am
Wow.
so excited to talk to her today because we have connected, all the three of us, on Clubhouse, and this woman is a powerhouse. You hear me?
Mhm.
The wealth of information and knowledge that flows out of her. Oh my gosh, you guys are in for a treat. So let us welcome to the stage the difference activator, Tanesha TJ Bryant.
Woo!
Whoop, whoop, whoop,
Hey,
whoop, whoop.
TJ.
Hello.
Hey, how are you today?
I am great. I am great. Today is a great day.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Yes.
Before we even jump into your questions, tell us how you came up with the name The Difference Activator. I'm
Mhm.
looking at your name right now. What does that mean? What does that signify?
So, this actually was something that was given to me through prophecy, right?
Mhm.
So, one of my friends, one of my people that I definitely look up to as a mentor, we've known each other for a long time. And I was just going through, like, okay, what am I doing with my business? What is my purpose? And I've had Flawless for a long time, for a year. And she was like, and I've always stuck out as different. Events that I go speak at, whatever, I'm not like everybody else. And she was like, you are the difference activator. You are meant to go and activate the difference that is in people. There are people waiting for you. And
Mm,
so I was in a place to receive it, because I don't know how many times I've been told that I'm different. And so a lot
Mhm.
of times we look at different as something bad, but in the
mhm.
kingdom, being different, especially when we have to be in this world, not of this world,
Come
it's
on.
actually a gift. So one of my gifts, as I see now, is the ability to activate being different, standing out. And I'll give you an example of one of the biggest ways that I showed up different was when we launched we had our devotional that I was part of. We had our event, and I showed up in a dress and some chucks, no makeup on. And it was a room full of heels and makeup. And I wasn't in a place to embrace that I was meant to be different at that time.
Mhm.
And I learned that there are seasons where God will give us things from people and we're not in a place to receive it. And so he'll have to come back again.
Mm,
And he'll have to come back again when you are ready, when you are prepared, right? In position. And so I was finally in position to receive it. And I said, you know what? I'm taking it. I said, I'm going to take Difference Activator. And he's made it so much more than it was at that time and what it's meant to be. He's just kind of he knew where I was going. I didn't know where I was going when I embraced it, but just embracing it has completely changed my perspective and my confidence in who I am in Christ, right?
mm,
So,
Mhm.
me as a person, I realize now, like, I can actually reflect to even as a little girl
Mm.
being different
mm.
and just growing up being different. And now I look at my children who are different, right? And so I'm able to speak. Yesterday, I spoke into them about how they're meant to be different. And I realized, what if I hadn't embraced it?
Mm.
My witness as being different in Christ and who God wants me to be would be ruined, not just for the people that I'm supposed to speak to in Clubhouse or on social media, but my own kids. And
Wow.
so that's really me embracing um, what was spoken into me. And I know
Mhm.
he said it before. And I think at that moment, he had to say it with such authority and such,
Mhm.
this is what I'm telling you, because I wasn't listening for myself. He had already told me who I was. I
Mm,
wasn't listening. My spiritual ears were closed off.
wow.
She just dove into the deep end.
I love it
Wow.
though. I love it because, God did make us unique, and I think people, especially children, teens, young adults need to know that it's okay if you're not like the people in your peer group. There's nothing wrong with that. We should be comfortable with being different and comfortable with being unique because God made us this way for a certain reason. So I love that.
I do too.
And I will say that when you say, like, young, I've always been called to work with kids. I've always been called to be youth, but I put myself in a box as like that's
Mm,
who I'm supposed to work with. And then God had like some simple, I did riding with TJ for a long time. It was random, it was not consistent, and he's changed it now. But those were the best things because people would message me or they would comment and be like, I needed this. And it would be older women. And I'm like, God, you didn't come. And he's like, hold
Mm,
up, now. Hold up now. Because there are women out there that have gone years, decades of fitting into what their version of who they're
mm,
supposed to be is. And there are things that I'm going to give you that's not just for the young adults and youth. Yes, you can talk to them in a way that other people can't because of who you were as a youth and adult, but I need you to not put yourself in a box with who your target market is, right? Because
wow.
because I followed people. I saw all these people in business and I said, "Okay, I have to do this. I have to do this. I have to do this." And he's like, "Why?" It's like, "How are you going to reach this person?
mm,
These people don't care if your social media looks this way. Your
Wow.
people don't care." Now, he had to teach me how to properly brand my social media so I could help people with my business, right? But
Mhm.
at the same time, he's like, I had you do what you had to do, but there's something else I need you to do.
mm,
And a lot of times we show up the way we're told by social media, by coaches, which I'm not saying coaches are bad. What I'm saying is that God gives us specific people that are supposed to guide us. And sometimes we go for the popular or
mm,
the known because that's what we think we're supposed to do, or our friends, right? And we go for those people to give us guidance, but that's not the path we're going. And so he would vex my spirit. I'm talking about it would make me feel sick when I started looking at certain people and like, oh, okay, I need to do this. I need to do this. He would literally make me feel ill. He still does. And so don't
Oh,
ever ask your child what she wants at DoorDash, okay? Because when he gets here, he's claiming it.
With the
Yeah.
mom and mom CEO. It's
no.
okay.
She's like, I need you to just stop for a second and get me my money. But when we are called to be set apart, we also have to pay attention to what the Spirit's telling us.
Mhm.
And we allow what we see to put constraints on what we're supposed to look like, and we miss opportunities.
Mhm,
God gave me a specific idea and it was just so random. And I'm like, nobody's going to want to do that. I talked myself out of it. I
mm.
Mhm.
talked myself out of it. And he gave the idea to somebody else with the exact date so I would
Wow.
know. So I would know that what I told you is what I told you.
Wow.
Wow.
And I had to check myself. Like, I was feeling some type of way about the event, but then he's like, I, I, that was your idea. That was your idea. That was your date. But because you were trying to work with people that you weren't supposed to work with, because
Mhm.
you didn't think you could do it by yourself,
Mm,
in me, right? Because
Mhm.
anything we do is never by ourselves, it's in them.
right.
And so my whole idea of business and how I operate has had to evolve and change. And so that's where I am. That's where you guys meet me. You guys are meeting me in such a new place. Hello.
So awesome. And you said you've only been in business for a year, and this is like such a rapid transformation within a year, because some people take, 3 to 5 years to find out who they are, as far as business is concerned. So I'm just like really taken aback by all of this happening in such a short period of time. But I want to go back a little bit, because you said there was a time prior to you um, walking into that role of being the difference activator. So what was it like prior to you accepting this, call that you are the difference activator? How were you operating? And can you speak to that? Because I know some people that are still in that, who am I? And how did you get to the point that you're at right now?
Let me try to say this without getting emotional. Who I was before was content. I
Mm,
was content and not enough. I was content in not being in the front. I was content in not showing God in me. Okay.
mm,
Not out loud, right? Like I had friends that I encourage. I had business people that I would give business tips to, like behind the scenes, behind the scenes. And I would get overwhelmed. So, backstory, I've dealt with mental health, depression, anxiety for a very long time. And I fought it, I fought it, I fought it. But anxiety has been the worst since I had mm, my son and my daughter. Okay. And so a lot of times I would be on social media and I'd be trying to do my business. I'd be trying to do my things, right? Like
mhm,
I don't know, put my designs God gave me out there, right? I
Mm.
would put my designs out there and no one would buy, no one would share, nobody would do any of that. And I literally would be like, I'm not meant to do this. I would
mm,
take what the world was doing as a direct reflection of what God was telling me to do. And
Mhm.
see what there are seasons where you have to do what God's telling you to do, regardless of what you see. And
Right.
so I was in a season, I'm still in a season. Oh, Jesus, I hope we're going to graduate soon. Um, I want to just be real, okay? Um, faith without sight. And what God told
mm,
me, once I embraced the difference, he kind of was like, this is why we're going through this. He was like, okay, I can talk
mm,
to you now. You're kind of listening to me. But my anxiety was so bad that I would remove myself from social media, right? I would just stop. You would not hear from me, you would not see from me. And I would take it as, oh man, I messed up. Oh man, I didn't do that. I didn't hear right. And so I was in this constant war with
mm,
myself and how I perceived how I was being, the support that I wasn't getting from people that I expected the support to come, put me in a place that was dark, and it was lonely, and I was okay there. Like, I don't need
Wow.
anybody. I don't
wow.
like people. Like, I was in a whole completely different place, and I'm supposed to blog. I wasn't putting out blogs. I wasn't sharing nothing or anything. And I was in this, I always envision it like, how when you go to the eye doctor and they dilate your eyes and you have to put
Mhm,
those blinders on because
Mhm.
the sun is too bright, right? And I was walking around with
mhm,
blinders,
Wow.
and
mm,
I was taking everything personal, and I was taking everything, um, I wasn't enough. And I wasn't enough for the people that hype me up, the people that encourage me, the people that said, "Oh, you're going to do this, you're going to do this." But their words never match their actions.
Mm.
And so
ooh,
they would say, "Oh, I'm going to support you," or, "You're going to do so great," but you won't share a post. And
mm,
instead of me discerning, because I discern, let me tell you something. there are some things that you're like, okay, but I had to learn that God was already telling me this. God was already showing me the true people before the people showed their true colors. And I wasn't in a place to receive it. I just wanted someone to care. I wanted someone to support what I had because I knew God was telling me, right? And I think about, I could go and be like, oh, I probably missed reaching so many people I was supposed to reach with. He was like, you need to get on Clubhouse. Doesn't matter who else is on Clubhouse. You need to get on Clubhouse. And I'm not getting on Clubhouse. And what happened when I actually finally got faithfully on Clubhouse and actually started doing what he told me to do? I got connected with people that were supposed to be in my circle, right? Oh, so I delayed it.
Wow.
So a lot of times we talk about, I'm delayed, not denied. Da, da, da. Honey, you the reason you delayed.
Talk about it.
You the reason you delayed.
Yes.
I already told you. I already told you what to do. I told you where to go. I told you where the people are.
We're causing our own delays.
So what you looking at me for? Listen, that's how I be like, God be talking to me. He be like, I said what I said. Someone's like, you need to get that shirt because you say that all the time. What? He does. God says what he says and he means it. He doesn't go, he's not like fruiting up people. He's not like people. He doesn't say things like, oh, I'm gonna buy your book and then not go do it. He's a man of his word, right?
Right.
Word, but he's not even man. Like he's a God of his word. He's a daddy of his word, right? So we need to start saying that, right? Abba is of his word, okay? And so I was in a place where I couldn't even see what his word was to me.
Wow.
And it was so lonely and it was so dark, but I got there because when I was, and I didn't even know I was going to talk about this, but when I was a part of the devotional last year, I only gave surface transparency. And he was like, and when I was ready to hear what he had to say, which was probably this summer, which is a long time to wait to hear, right? But listen, when he knows you're not ready for something, he's not going to tell you. And so he was like, you didn't listen to me. And that's why you don't like, that's why you haven't even shared that. That's why you haven't, because I'm making you feel convicted. I'm convicting you because there was an opportunity for you to be transparent. Now I'm redeeming your time because you're in a place now, but I need you to be honest. You were supposed to give more transparency to why you are enough. But here's the thing. I wrote in a devotional called I Am Enough when I didn't understand how I was enough.
Wow.
Did I study? No. Did I look up scriptures to see why God says I'm enough? Did I get around people that told me I was enough? Did I get around people that showed me ways I was enough? No. Wow. I wrote it from flesh. And that was not his intention. And so while I am sure the other ladies that I wrote with did exactly what they were supposed to be, I hope so anyways, for me,
wow,
I have to go in the order he's telling me. And so the book that he gave me is very transparent. And until I release that, I can't go back to the I Am Enough devotional. And so even though that's a great devotional and something that I want people to read, until I release my transparency piece for people to see, because they need to see the transparency before they can see the I am enough. Because even though I'm in the I am enough now that I wrote about in the devotional, I wasn't when I wrote it. Wow. And so I battled with that. I battled with I am enough. And then, so for me to go, that was the before I embraced, right? So Flawless Talks Network is taught about embracing, evolving, and encouraging. And what I learned in the embraces is that it's fluid, right? Because if you're evolving,
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're encouraging other people, if you're evolving, there are things that you have to go back and embrace.
Mm.
Embrace is consistent, it's fluid, it's
Mm-hmm.
all the time. Evolving is all the time. And as an encourager, you'll find that there are times in your embracing that you're not in a place to encourage.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And so God was like, you continue to be this person, and I need you to be this person, but I need you to pull back, and I need you to encourage yourself. I need you to encourage that little girl that thought her life was worth ending. I need you to encourage that little girl that felt like she was the reason her dad couldn't give up drinking. I need you to encourage that little girl that felt like she had to be an adult too soon. I need you to embrace that everything that you went through before you found me, before you knew me, was for a purpose in
Mm.
me. And so I had to go through a lot mentally, physically, in order to be where I am today. And I don't speak on it, but God said it's time for you to be the transparency that I called you to over a decade ago. Because when He called me to be transparent, I ran.
Mm.
I ran into my contentment of being a mom and a wife, and the being a worker, being an employee. I put those shields up of protection so I
Mm.
wouldn't have to be transparent. And so
Wow.
last year I was like, okay, I said my last year I was like, I'm gonna say yes regardless. I'm gonna say yes regardless, right? Yes regardless. Huh? Okay, yes regardless, but you didn't write the devotional the way I told you.
Wow.
Ooh, come on, TJ.
So now I gotta take you through a different type of walk for 2021.
Wow.
Wow.
I'm breaking all of your understanding. I'm breaking
Woo.
all of your understanding so that you can understand me better,
Mm.
and how I speak to you and how I use you. And that's how we are here today.
Wow.
You said a whole lot, but I just want to highlight before I take it over to Lori, because I know she has some things she want to ask you, is thank you for speaking on where you were, because there are people currently where you were that can't
Mhm.
identify the stage that they're in because they're still in it. And you
Mhm.
speak into the fact that you didn't feel like you were enough. You were going on social media and comparing the things that you were doing. Thank you for speaking to that, because now they can identify the action and then examine the heart behind it.
Mm.
So I really appreciate how you broke that down so eloquently and just talked about your period before, where you're at right now and embracing who you were. And I loved how, one last thing, because this was really profound, you went back and embraced who you were. You didn't negate the fact that that brought you to this place of purpose that you're in right now. And you had to embrace all of that and look at that as, this is what brought me to God and the place where I am right now. Oh, so powerful, so beautiful. I just love your story. Thank you
Mm.
so much. Thank you.
Yeah. That was amazing. S-
Hmm.
How did you deal? Because you did mention earlier that you dealt with anxiety and things like that. So during the process, how did you manage embracing who you were or your past, along with, anxiety and all of the triggers that
Mm,
can happen when you're embracing? Because we know that when we're, either dealing with past trauma or, going through forgiveness, certain things can be triggers. So how did you deal with triggers during that transition?
I love this question because I had to kind of like be like, wait, how did I get here? Right? Like I was in a really bad place. Like I couldn't walk into church without feeling my chest tighten. I was in a
Woo.
really hard place. And God's like, remember how I allowed you to get the position as a behavior interventionist? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, you had to learn behaviors in a deeper level of learning behaviors so that you could see your behaviors. And
Mm.
so I had to learn how my learned behaviors of growing up and my habits of growing up affected me as an adult. Um, I did have to learn my triggers. I had to learn. See, a lot of times we're like, "Oh, I just feel that way." You know, we negate our feelings. We're like,
Mhm.
"Oh, that's just that." Or we'll talk to someone that's like, "Oh, anxiety is not of the Lord," and they speak down to whatever it is, and so we stuff it and we don't
Mhm.
discuss it.
Right.
And for me, it was like I had to identify what was going on in order for me to see how it was being affected, right? And so a lot of my triggers were people that always spoke about money, always spoke about manifestation, just different things. Like I had to really look at who I was following,
Mm.
who and it could have been Christian, you know, influencers, whatever. But let's just be honest, Christ is the only influencer I really want to take advice from. Okay? Like, listen, I want to be a faith influencer. I want to influence your faith. I don't want to
Mhm.
influence your business like I do, but at the same time, like God has given me a new purpose with Flawless. And
Mm.
so I had to figure out, like, he was like, he would tell me stuff, and I'm like, I'm not doing, like, no, no. How am I going to tell people how? No. Like, I'm stubborn, and I'm stubborn when it comes to things. But he was just like, okay, what do you need to work on in order to be in a place where you can help others? And so I'm sitting there and I'm just like, he's like, okay, well, I need you to take the month of September to focus on yourself because September is my birthday month. And I'm like, this is a weird thing. Like, I need to focus on myself. And then I realized that I never celebrate myself. I never felt comfortable celebrating myself. I never
Wow.
felt comfortable admitting that my self care wasn't like everybody else self care. Like getting my nails done, getting my hair done was just like, okay, I don't like those things. I don't like sitting in one place for hours at a time just to look a certain way. And he was like, mm, hmm. And so I had to go back to his word. At the end of the day, we have to compare what's going on with what he says.
Mm.
And if you're not sure how to find what he says, connect with somebody that can. Because I think a lot of people love to say, what does his word say? But you're not telling me how to find it in his word. Like, I didn't grow up in Sunday school. Okay. I didn't go to school every Wednesday. We didn't wake up to cleaning to gospel music.
Wow.
Yeah. But honestly, like
I love it.
I had to start getting not angry, but I had to start getting fire, right?
Mm.
I had to start getting fire for the people that didn't, the people that don't. He had to change my mindset. And he's like, yeah, you don't like to be in a group of people because your dad had social anxiety.
Mm.
Say, what, God?
Wow.
Yeah.
And then he told me this to share with somebody else. He said, you need to tell that person to stop saying they're an introvert because
Mm.
they're claiming being an introvert when I need them to be an extrovert for me. And
Mm.
so instead of saying introvert, I told the person to say faithvert, right? Because you're not quite at extrovert but we don't claim introvert, because if we
Mhm.
claim it, we're taking it on and we're wearing it. And
Yes.
our words have power.
Yeah.
Our words have strength. And when
Mm-hmm.
we take on certain words, we take them on. So, oh, I have anxiety. No, no, I don't. But I noticed when my anxiety rise, it had something to do that was against what I was supposed to do. So when
Ooh.
we get in ourself, when we get into our own ways and our own thoughts and our own understanding, my anxiety rises. Like if I'm looking at finances and I'm like, okay, I only have this much, right? My anxiety might rise, right? Because I see that. But that's not how God tells us to think. God
Nope.
tells us that He is our provider and He is
Yeah.
our supplier. And so we have to look at a situation not with our understanding, not with our understanding, but with God's understanding. And
Mm-hmm.
so when He revealed to me that peace, because I went through this really crazy situation, and someone was like, you're so calm, and I'm like, the Bible says peace beyond all understanding. That means my understanding, that means your understanding. You don't have to understand why I'm peaceful,
Yeah.
Mm.
and you're not about to put nothing on me neither. Should I
Come
be
on now.
anxious? Should I be anxious? Yeah, if I put it against the world standards, but I'm
Come
not putting
on.
it. I'm putting it against Abba standards.
Yes.
I'm putting it against. So when I see things that once triggered me to be like that feeling, body check, body
Ooh.
Mm.
scan. I'm body scanning myself. Why do I feel this way? Am I supposed to be here? Because what I learned is, instead of saying, "Oh, I'm anxious," is God trying to show me something?
Ooh.
I take those
Wow.
feelings that once I connected to anxiety, I connect to my daddy trying to get my attention.
Wow.
So instead of me looking at, I start to feel a certain way. So for an example, God was like, you need to take a break from social media. I'm like, how am I supposed to do
Yeah.
that and reach people, right?
Mm-hmm.
I started seeing
Million
posts
dollar
and I started
question.
having old thoughts. I started having old thoughts, old understandings. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like,
Mm.
bye.
She said, bye.
Because
Bye,
if I
Instagram.
stayed, I would have put that back on myself.
Yeah.
We pick up stuff that's no longer ours.
Wow.
Wow.
And it
So
leads us
true.
to a place that we're not supposed to be.
Mm.
And so when I worked with my kids and we were working on behaviors, they had to do body scans. They had to be aware of how their head felt, how their arms felt, how their jaws felt. And God revealed, like, you need to do that because your physical is going to tell you,
Mm.
but my spiritual is trying to tell you, right? There's a reason and a place for everything, which is so, no one explained that. Like, they're just like, oh, there's a reason for everything. Like, stop giving soft explanations to what God says.
Mm.
I mean, not everybody learns the same. I was just working with one of my kids to figure out how they learn, and they're hands on. So if I have someone that's a hands on learner and I'm trying to teach them about God, they're going to be looking at me like,
Whew.
Mm.
I can't put my hands around that.
Come
Wow.
on, TJ.
I hope that answered the question.
Yeah.
Did. It did. And it made me see that we're not supposed to use emotions as to lead us into making decisions, but we use emotions to check what's going on in our heart, to check how connected we are to the Father, to ask
Wow.
questions. And you really confirm that, because I know for a long time I wasn't doing that. I was allowing my emotions to lead me, but I still didn't
Mm.
have sufficient language to explain why emotions were indicators of the heart posture, but not necessarily leaders of the heart. So people say
Wow.
things like, let your heart lead you, but you should not let your heart lead you. Your
No.
heart just, it's like a engine light that comes on to say, oh, or the check engine or the whatever light in the car comes on and say, okay, check this. Something is malfunctioning. So go ahead and check. Ask yourself those heart questions and get to
Right.
the of the problem. So you really, even with the body check that you said, the jaws, the arms, everything. My
Yeah.
God, like you really broke it down. You dropped a lot of bombs, like one-liners, but then you explained what the one-liners meant. That is such a heart of an educator. And um so let's get into what are your businesses? I know you have several businesses because you were a serial mompreneur, mom CEO, like you do it all. And we would love to know what you do and how to connect with you because you are a game changer at this point.
Yeah.
I do. I have Buzzing to Learn is my baby. It was my first business. It's tutoring, parent support, and mentoring.
Don't worry about the babies. You're a mom CEO. That means you have kids.
Yes.
And I'm going to have no snacks by the end of this. In 40 minutes, I'm going to have no snacks left that just got delivered. It's fine. So that's my baby. I love helping parents better understand their children. And for me, education is about relationship. And so that business literally I'm praying because I really want to turn that into a nonprofit beyond the business. And so I'm waiting for God to line up the steps, line up the necessary for that. But he's told me over and over again. But one of the things that I saw a lot in education was our parents don't get taught. And it's assumed that our parents know everything when it comes to our kids in the school system, and cultural norms are not cultural corrects.
Yeah.
Lack for a better word. So I love working with parents and their children and just creating a different type of relationship when it comes to education. And then today I came as a difference activator, which is Flawless Talks and Network.
Wow.
It is Flawless has always been about we're not flawless, but we are God's grace is. And so when God gave me the name for this, he gave it to me a while ago. Like I think it was like 2017. And he was just like, he's like, you're not you're not flawless. But your flaws that you see are going to be used for my purpose.
Wow.
And that's my author speaking, and he's really pushing me to offer mentoring, and I'm going back and forth with him. And it's just like, okay, God, if you say so. But that is my second baby. And the third one that has just recently been born is Factor Innovations, and it is based off Hebrews 10:4. And we're working on helping bring kingdom principles to multi-fascist businesses. So those people out there that run multi-businesses, I am your business interventionist.
Wow.
And my goal is to help you smoothly run multiple businesses. I'm talking about email marketing. I do graphic design, which I don't put out there, but I do. God has really been on me about not putting out the talents and gifts that he's given me. But my love about this business is that one, I didn't want it. Okay.
Let's get that straight.
Okay. And two, he had to remove me from social media so I could prepare to release it into the marketplace because I was looking at too many people. I avoided offering, administration to other people because I saw other people doing it and I didn't want them to think that I was copying them, those mental things. So right now, the best way to get a hold of me is really emailing me through my website for Flawless. I do have a website for Factors Innovations. It's just a landing page. So you can get notified when it's up and running.
Yeah.
But one thing I want to say about getting connected to me is that my goal with all my businesses is to always show God first.
Mhm.
And so I can say you can contact me about email marketing, but there's a good chance we're going to end up talking about something else because
I love it.
I got this. The CEO is God, right? And the VP is the Holy Spirit. So if my bosses tell me
Come on now.
talk about something else, but I look over your websites to see. For me, I need mine when I go to your website. If it doesn't look like you and what you're telling me about your business, I must say it.
Mhm.
But I think that God has a sense of humor because I've said over and over again that I don't want to be an entrepreneur. For years, I said, I'll support you, but I will not be an entrepreneur. In the past year, I am now a business of three. I have three businesses. Three.
Wow.
And he's like, and I need you to trust me. And I'm like, okay.
Mm.
So I am on social media. I'm just not active right now, but I am on Clubhouse, which I am active on Clubhouse. And I hope to get connected to more like-minded individuals. But even if you don't feel like you're in a place where I speak of God, don't let it stop you. Because I think a lot of times we feel intimidated by the way that God looks on other people.
Mm.
And I'm here to tell you that if he's sending you to send a DM or message to me, send it. There's a reason.
Wow.
And I just pray that people will see me and see the God in me, whatever business I show up for. I do a small plug. I have a conference coming in April. So on my website, I have a tab for the Difference Igniter conference. If
Wow.
you want information about tickets and things like that, make sure you put your information on that page. I will be promoting and releasing that information in January.
Wow. Go ahead, Natalie. I asked
Oh,
all my questions.
I'm listen, I'm soaking and basking in all the information that she just gave us. So I'm gonna leave it to you, Lori. Leave it to you to wrap us up because this was really,
Yes.
really good, TJ. We really appreciate you just sharing your wealth of wisdom with us. It was really good.
Yes. So you heard it. You know how to get in contact with TJ. And we are so grateful for you being with us and just sharing your story. And we are excited to see what what the Lord is downloading into you and presenting it to the world. So yeah, just a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah,
Thank you so
yeah.
much for sharing your story and just being open to um, telling us about the hard work that you have done, and we appreciate that. And thank you for being obedient to what Holy Spirit has told you and continuously tells you to do. So this is the conclusion of today's podcast. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
And TJ, thank you
Thank
for being here with us. We appreciate you. If you haven't already, please take time to hit the subscribe button down below so you can get information about our next podcast and notifications. But until then, make sure you go and contact TJ and let her
Mhm.
do what she does best,
Yes.
and which is apparently mentor. What am I missing? Mentor,
Mentor, author, speaker,
author, speaker,
graphic designer,
graphic design,
a serial entrepreneur.
serial entrepreneur. So thank you, everyone. We
Thank you.
appreciate you, and we'll see you on the next podcast. See
Bye.
y'all.